Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about AMC to the moon, the best quarter in history, the 150 gamma squeeze, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a look at this. Mario has already pulled in $68 million globally, 34 million domestic on a Wednesday. And this is how we started off this week. This is how we started off this quarter, where the Super Mario Galaxy movie has done exceptionally well. Now, during the weekends that we're in right now, I have no doubt is that it's only going to be even better. What we have to realize is that Mario himself has always talked about this as well. Super Mario already will have posted the highest grossing opening weekend of 2026, with Saturday and Sunday still to come after that. The full weekend Super Mario numbers are going to be huge. So for the next 2 days, we should be expecting extremely good news from AMC, from the overall box office, and really just looking at how we are captivating off this. We already talked about how AMC has become more efficient. So the very fact that we are looking at a better box office, we are looking at movies like this coming out that are doing exceptionally well, you can definitely expect AMC's quarterly earnings, quarterly revenue to go even higher. In fact, we are already seeing right now, what we are seeing is the highest revenue since 2017, but also appears to be the second highest revenue in AMC history. And the average police appears to be highest revenue ever. And this is what we talked about with how we're profiting and benefiting from this current industry. We already knew that this year was going to be great. We already knew that the box office is improving. It's only going to get even better and bigger. And this is what we are witnessing right now. Again, I have no doubt that this is only going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And AMC is only become even more efficient. We've already said that we beat Q1 of 2023. So 2026 Q1 is the best Q1 post-COVID. And we said, even if we didn't beat Q1 of 2023, we still would have made more revenue. We still would have made more profit because we are much more efficient. So the very fact we did beat it and we are more efficient, you can see how that was the cherry on top, of course. And so Q1, we've done exceptionally well. Q2 is already off to a great start. One could argue that we could see the Q2 2026 be bigger than Q2 2019 and also become the biggest quarter of cinema history. And so if we do see it to become the best cinema, or rather the best quarter of cinema history, then that's very important. One of the key words you will always hear in the videos, and I was mentioning earlier as well, is just the efficiency of AMC. Now, there's a big reason for why I say this. Mario himself has come out to obviously said, even if the box office were to stay the same, we would still make more money each year. And so that is to talk about the efficiency. And so if we are seeing this quarter, Q2 of 2026, to be the biggest quarter in history, then we definitely want to pay close attention to see how much money we can make, because that just talks about how much potential AMC truly has. And that will just talk about what kind of the projected future would be for AMC, and alternatively attract even more investors. And these are just some of the things that would come with if we are seeing the biggest quarter, if we are seeing AMC being efficient. Now, people are continuously investing into it because we're already seeing how well AMC is doing recently. We're seeing how well they're projected for the future. But like we've said, if we are able to see even better news, then that's going to attract even more investors and ultimately cement AMC as one of the best opportunities of today's generation. Now, Mario himself then also says something that potentially we can be taken out of context, or potentially this is what he means. We've seen him in the past before talk in some sort of way in terms of coding out words without saying anything. And we know that CEOs aren't really allowed to talk about their stocks in a way that would affect kind of people's sentiment. But in this case, he talks about, isn't it so incredibly ironic? On the same weekend that Super Mario is delighting millions of moviegoers, NASA launched Artemis 2 with a go-to translunar burn, which means for the first time since 1972, mankind is heading, with a new sentence, to the moon. So this is what I think is very important. It's because we've seen how AMC has been behaving recently. We've obviously seen how AMC was below $1. We saw the suppression, but ultimately we're able to beat it. We closed above $1. We had two very strong days of 5% closing and 8% closing. And so we are seeing how well AMC is doing on the chart. In terms of the fundamentals, we are also seeing how well AMC is doing, just like with what we said at the start of the video. And so with all of this going on, and now suddenly Adam Aaron talks about to the moon, it makes me believe that he is saying that something is coming. He's definitely expecting for some potential moves for AMC, or at least he's trying to hint that. Again, he obviously hasn't confirmed, he hasn't been direct with this. It's just me saying that we couldn't take it out of, take it out of context because we've seen him talk in code words before. Does it mean that he actually means this? Of course not. It is just an assumption made by me. Comment down below what you guys think, but I just think that in today's current situation that we are in right now, especially with how well AMC is moving and how well it will continue to move, and the fact he's saying to the moon, it really leaves a lot of room for debate here. We can see AMC's highest daily close since March 11th, where we closed at $1.12, up 8.74%. We are now up 20% since the 0.93 low last Friday. And it's what I said last week as well, with how that may have been the last opportunity you will ever get to accumulate AMC at that low of a price. And so since then, we're obviously seeing it go up 20%, and we're very likely to continue to see it go up another 20% by probably mid next week. And so this is just talk about the momentum that we are seeing right now, the momentum that we are having. And it talks about how much capital is truly flowing in for AMC. And even with an extreme dark pool and short shares, they still are unable to push us down. Because if you take a look at what's going on right now, AMC is currently one of the most shortest stocks in the world. Now, what's crazy about this is that this is based off of public short interest data. Already based off the public short interest data, we are one of the most shorted. When you think about, and then take in mind the fact that the synthetic positions that we have talked about, the FTDs that we talked about, and we talked about how easy peasy trading obviously gave the analysis of how much synthetic short interest there is, it then becomes even higher. And we already know that, but you can see how this is the sort of suppression and manipulation that we are facing. And it's why I said is that if we weren't facing things like this, you'd be seeing AMC going up 20% possibly every single day until it reached the hundreds. But what we are faced is this is the harsh reality, but we are still doing exceptionally well, especially with how well AMC is doing. When you take a look at the dark pool, this is what I'm talking about in terms of why we could go even higher. On the 1st of April, we saw a 91% dark pool at one point, where we saw 5.7 million shares pretty much being into the off exchange, 181,000 shares hitting the NYSE. And then on the 2nd of April, we saw it end the day with 78% dark pool exchange, 32.5 million shares routed into the off exchange. And with what we've seen in the past before, with how the inflow outflow, and we worked out that the money buying AMC is roughly 75% of the total volume. So the rest of the 25% is sell volume. And then when you understand that 75% of all volume in AMC is buy volume, and you see that 78% is dark pool, you start to see how much buy volume is truly being hidden away. And in this case, 32.5 million, a majority of that would have been buy volume. So imagine if that were to hit the lit exchange. Imagine if they never suppressed that and it actually wasn't internalized and was having an effect on the price. You can understand why I said that 20% daily movements would be extremely normal for AMC. Now, of course, there's a big reason for why they are doing this, because we are seeing short sellers really struggle right now. Recently, we talked about John Hampton, and we talked about him in our last video. But the reason why we said about him is because he's been someone who's been actively short selling AMC and actively being vocal about this. But what he talked about is it's funny how a 3 million short position, which he claims is nothing for his fund, lives rent-free in his head 24/7. If it's so small, why is it the only thing he talks about? And this is what I'm finding interesting, which is 3 million for a firm of his size, it really shouldn't matter, especially if he's making the profit that he claims he is. Yet he's continuously talking bad about AMC, yet he's so fixated on AMC. And it just goes to show that if it truly is the case, anyone who went short on AMC won the trade. The stock has been corruptly driven all the way down to just $1. Short should be celebrating and counting their massive profits. So this is obviously very telling of what's actually going on. I truly believe that the story of John Hampton is just reflecting many of the others as well, which is Yes, they did get in AMC at a high price and they did short AMC at that high price. But the problem they're facing right now is that no one is selling their AMC shares. So they're just looking at the numbers on the screen that they can't do nothing about it. And for a lot of them as well, what they also have put themselves into is obviously synthetic positions. With the open shares, with the real float, maybe they're in profit. But with the billions of synthetics that they have created, they also can't do anything about that as well. And this is just kind of the two times effect of what's going on. And so again, if they truly did make so much profit, they should be happy, they should be celebrating, and definitely shouldn't be talking bad about AMC still and getting that mad over AMC when it's doing well. It really just talks about how they're still stuck in this play. And we can see AMC is moving on extremely high volume. We talked about the call option volume. We talked about the kind of the buy shares as well, the buy side. And so we are going to be looking at kind of just this whole momentum continuing. And one thing to look out for is the gamma ramp that can be created by AMC just reaching 150. We've already talked about how there are short sellers opening their positions at 170. There are short sellers opening positions at 210. Potentially, there are also short sellers at 120, 150, etc. And so what we can be seeing is that even if AMC were to go up by another 20%, a lot of short sellers will already be affected. And we talked about the snowball effect that it can get, because if it goes to 150, a lot of people are affected and pushes the price up to 170. We're seeing now another new set of short sellers being affected. And if they have the cover pushing the price up to $2.10, then the previous short sellers who shorted at that price will also start being affected. And it just goes on and on and on. And so that's something that we obviously have to pay attention to, but it's just talk about how quick a gamma squeeze can be triggered. And you can see AMC goes vertical into close. It really just talks about the momentum that we had. It just talks about the positivity and the fact that they're trying to suppress us, but they obviously are failing. Another big thing, and it's to talk about how we know AMC is going to do well for this quarter, is because we're seeing our movie themed merchandise sold at our theaters, and it's become very, very popular and often selling out. We talked about the Yoshi popcorn buckets and how that's sold out already. And this is just kind of just the showcase of many things as well. So not only are we seeing the box office, and this is what I was talking about with efficiency, not only are we seeing the box office going up, meaning that more and more people are coming to watch the movies, but you got to understand that attendance were breaking, but the people who are also attending, the money they're spending on tickets outside of that, in terms of the merchandises, in terms of the food, the drinks, all of this is just going to be going to AMC and putting us in a better position. One of the craziest statistics to be looking at is that you still have a chance to accumulate AMC at $1. Now, do not take this as financial advice. Again, none of this is ever financial advice. What I do say, take what I say with a grain of salt, make sure you're doing due diligence research, but it's to talk about how much potential there is and what a lot of people are seeing in this, which is, you can see with an investment of 20,000, which I understand not everyone has, but this is just an example being given here, is that because AMC is so cheap, you can grab a lot of AMC shares. And even if AMC were to hit $60, you could see it fetch $1 million already. And so this is the potential that people are looking on. And it's why it's attracting a lot of people. Now, I want to leave this piece of AMC news before going to the macro news at the last, because this is something that I have not been able to confirm, but so many people are saying this, which is apparently AMC halted. The problem is, and this is something that I searched as well, and this is by Mumu, a brokerage. So the fact that I did see these pieces of news, but when I searched for it myself, there wasn't any signs of AMC halt. So I'm not sure what's actually going on here. If anyone has any idea, feel free to comment down below. But if that is the case, if AMC truly did get halted on an 8% move, then you know that the situation is bigger than ever. In the past, we've seen AMC get halted because it moved up 20, 30, 40%. But if we're seeing AMC moving up 8% from the opening of 102, then there's truly a massive problem at hand here. The thing about GameStop as well right now is that we have still see how I was doing. We have been with this play for a very long time as well now, and we're finally, I think, coming to that fruition. And so for this, we have to wait and see what's up. But with what they're doing right now, I definitely do expect a lot of things to be happening. Now, let's talk about the macro news, and I want to just show you guys this, which is the private credit. And this is something we've been talking about. Now, this is people are comparing this with that of the 2008 mortgage crisis. And it's because how many banks are being exposed to the private debt, you guys can see here. But not only that, we're now seeing the US Treasury, which are calling in regulators for talks on private credit risks. So this is what we've said with how big this problem has become. Essentially, you can look at it as the 08 crisis, but potentially 10, 30 times bigger. And if we're seeing all of these other fund managers, you can see they are all being worried, they are all losing out, and they're all trying to kind of scramble and fleeing from what's going on right now. You can see the masses are fleeing. And this is just talk about the problem that is on hand here. And then finally, the global energy crisis. We are seeing how the oil export is plunging because the strait is being closed. This is just what we're seeing right now. It's only probably continuing going to get bigger. Again, these are the geopolitics we don't cover on this channel, but it is something that people are kind of expecting to go even extreme. And if that was the case, you're going to be looking at even more volatility in the market. As always, this is not financial advice, and I'll catch you guys next time.